So I don't want to be the reason that you guys are all late for the pub, so I'm going to absolutely fly through this. And you guys are probably already annoyed at me anyway, because I've been following you around on Systrix banner ads for the last year. But Systrix banner ads actually a really interesting place to start, because Ned Poulter, who's on another stage right now, yay for Ned, he has a really interesting quote on his banner that says, at the end of the day, it's just Google's world, we all just play in it. And obviously Ned doesn't think that Google owns the world yet. He's talking about the world of search. And even then, I want to ask the question, is it really Google's world? Or is this starting to be divided? So I want to talk about Amazon. So I want to talk initially about Amazon's relationship with search and also the scale that Amazon has got right now. So just over the holiday period of 2016, Amazon customers purchased a watch every 1.5 seconds. Amazon customers purchased the weight of a grizzly bear in gold and the weight of a rhino in silver. They purchased enough luggage to fill 20 Boeing 747 airplanes. And they purchased enough 4K TVs, just 4K TVs, to reach this peak of Everest 9 times over. So while we're on the subject of big numbers, 400 million. That's the number of products that Amazon.com stock right now. A bigger number that I can't quite remember, 4.5 billion is the number of backlinks that Amazon.com has. But really, in the scheme of things, which contributes more to this? Is it those 4.5 billion backlinks, or is it that 400 million products? So if we're going from what Will was talking about earlier, if we ran a split test and we took down half of Amazon's backlinks or half of Amazon's products, which would have the biggest impact? And the answer is products. Customers don't care about backlinks. No one goes to Amazon because it has the most backlinks. They go because they can guarantee they have the product that they're going to be looking for. Which is exactly why, when you're looking at a couple of years ago, a fairly substantial amount, about 45% of retail searches began on Amazon, which is more than Google. Fast forward 1 year, and that's over 50%. Now, this graph couldn't look more like Pac-Man if it tried. So when Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, says, we think of Amazon as our biggest competitor in search, even though people don't necessarily consider Amazon as a search company, if they're looking for a product, the chances are very good that they're looking for it on Amazon and not Google. And ultimately, this comes down to the definition of what Google really is. You know, Google is a verb. You Google for information for people or products. But it's only half true to say that you Google on Google. Actually, we're more like this person. We Google on Amazon. 60 million people in July last year Googled for a used car on Auto Trader. There are 70 million people in the UK. 60 million people Googled for used cars on Auto Trader. 50 million people Google for flights every single month on Skyscanner. Now, if you look at actually how many people Google for flights on Google, Skyscanner is becoming ubiquitous with this query. We've overtaken Google when it comes to cheap flights. Skyscanner, and you can see the seasonality. It's exactly the same. People mean the same thing, and that's why they end up there. So Google is terrified of these niche search engines that are taking their market share. Google, not so long ago, decided it would be very worried about Indeed, and within 17 days of me saying that, Google released a job search engine in the US. So I think it's time to revisit what we call search engine optimization, because search engine optimization used to be about building links. But now it's about building search engines. Until we give our customers a better experience from them coming directly to us and trying to find the information about our services and our products than they can get from going via a search bar to Google, they will continue to search Google and allow your competitors into that funnel. And if we give them that opportunity, Google will continue to screw us over with products like this. Or it will shut off Search Appliance. Has anyone used Google Search Appliance at all to power their site search? So this is a box, literally a box, that Google provided to businesses to power the search on their websites and in their infrastructure. A while ago, this was shut off. The actual kind of the support for this is being shut off over the next year or so. Google doesn't want you to control your own search. Google wants to control all search. So I think the best place to start when it comes to building a search engine is to start with search. It's really interesting that 30% of visitors to a website will start with an on-site search. They will perform an on-site search at some point. And people who do a search on a website spend more with you than people who don't do that. In fact, the average conversion rate across our clients is more than double across the number of people who have done a site search versus the number of people who haven't done a site search before. So this is 5.4% compared to less than 2.5%. And yet 84% of companies don't even measure on-site search, despite the fact that there's a lot of conversions available there, but also a whole lot of ideas for content products and so on. So if you want to turn on site search analytics, it's really easy to do. Go into your Google Analytics profile, click admin. You can see in the view settings there that there is a box that says site search analytics, and you can tick it, and that's as simple as it gets. You can find your report there, so you can see on branded3.com what people are searching for in the last month when they are actually using our site search box. If a user gets no results after searching, they're 2.5 times more likely to leave the site than someone who hasn't done a search at all. So we can track that too. We can track that using Google Tag Manager. So you can create variables. For example, the first one, we're looking for what text is displayed on branded3.com when we are displaying search results that have no results. And for ours, if you do a search, you get no results, it says no results found. So we're using that text. I can create a variable that looks for that CSS selector that says search results. I can create a variable that says all results that are not that are classed as results, not no results. I can then scrape the search keyword. So I'm using my query parameter, on branded3.com, it's /?s. It's a search query modifier in there. And I can then fire an event in Tag Manager that allows me to only track this on pages that have search results and not just category pages and product pages and so on. So I get information like this back. If you search for Emma Barnes, who does a lot of the work with the Tag Manager at Branded3, you get a lot of results because she writes a lot of blog posts, including one that writes up how to do this. And if you search for something that we don't have any of, we get no results, and that tells us no results found. And that's something that we can track, and that's something that will give us a lot of information. Fortunately, there's a WordPress plugin that does this for you. It's called SearchMeter. Download, install it. You can track all of your search queries, but you can also track no search query reports as well, which is going to be incredibly useful for you because they're a great source of content. If someone is searching for information, they expect you to have it, and if you don't have it, you should probably create it. It's really useful for looking at products that you don't stock that people expect of you. So if a lot of people are searching for a product in a particular color, then you've got a case to go to your boss or to whoever it is in merchandising or whatever and say, 20 people in this last week have searched for this product in this color, and we know, a 5% conversion rate means that's worth probably having a look at anyway in the last week. A really nice example is for ThinkGeek, who do a really great April Fool's prank every single year. A couple of years ago, they did one for a Star Wars sleeping bag, where you could sleep inside the stomach of a Tauntaun, from Star Wars, where Han Solo's, I'm not a geek, so I don't know an awful lot about that, but it was so popular, and so many people searched on ThinkGeek for this product for so long afterwards that they created the product. And it was incredibly successful, regardless of how many were sold. 76,000 Facebook likes, 20,000+ pins. This has got an enormous reach and brought new people into ThinkGeek's ecosystem. What's really worrying, though, is when you have 0 results, but you know that you do stock that product. That's when you know you have a problem with your site search itself. So I'm going to tell you how to do a kind of brief audit of your site search functionality, the questions that you want to ask yourself if you're interested in getting started with this. The first ones are around technology. So what powers your site search? Do you know? Is it something that came out of the box with the CMS you're using? Is it something that you've implemented? Who implemented it in that case? Is it something that an external provider has done for you? Is it something that there is a team involved with? In that case, whose job is it to look after this product? Is there some sort of thought that went into building this? Or is it just tick a box, yes, we'd like that? Is there, and there often is, another website with a really great site search experience that you think is really good? that you could base your site search off, that you know is providing a good experience because you've experienced that yourself. The next thing you want to look at is the results. So do we already know of any instances? Has customer service been told something? Have we been tweeted something? Has someone emailed us saying, I searched for this and I couldn't find it? Are there instances that the search results are demonstrably poor? Are the search results, particularly on the first page that are returned, really actually relevant? Or could we do better with that? What happens if we make the query more complex? Do they get more relevant or less relevant? How fast are those results? We've talked a long time about how you've got 3 seconds to engage a user before they bounce. What makes you think that that's any different between a home page and a site search? Is the speed consistent? Is it always slow? Is it always fast? Is there something going on in the background here? And finally, let's look at the functionality. Is there an auto-suggest or auto-complete feature? If you're able to push products on people while they start to type the search based on what's profitable for you, what you have a lot in stock of, what's got a good margin on it, you can actually force people to look at the products that you want them to look at that answer their queries, not just the ones that give them a huge array of choice that they may never actually choose a particular product of. Can it cope with typos? If someone spells something incorrectly, do we still get results? Can we sort those results in some way? I've already said people who do a site search are more likely to spend more money with you. So maybe you don't want to sort these results by price by default. You might want to sort by relevance or some other metric, or some metric that you've established yourself based on stock. Are queries for special characters supported? Maybe you have products that have got special characters in them, or numbers, or dates, or something like that. Can our search function actually cope with that? And finally, is the number of products that are actually returned, is that how many products you've actually got that match that query, or are you actually tagging up your products correctly? So when Will's talking about structured data, absolutely, I think this is the future in here. Unfortunately, it is a case of garbage in and garbage out. If you're not correctly tagging up your products, correctly tagging up your content, people aren't going to be able to find it. And as a rule of thumb, as much as metadata, title tags, etc., kind of frowned upon as being pretty basic and probably not something to talk about at a conference, they have an impact on search rankings. They have an impact on conversions, because it's not just click-through rate off-site, it's conversion rate on-site for people who are trying to get that experience through your site search. But site search is not just for e-commerce. Site search is for when people want an answer. This is what Amazon does really well. Someone is looking for a product, you know that Amazon has it. So I want to talk through an early example from us, something that we did a very long time ago in 2013, which is what our attempt at being the Amazon of cruises for Virgin Holidays. So in 2013, this is what the Bible of cruise information looked like. Everything is in there, don't get me wrong. The actual content inside cruise.co.uk has for years been absolutely excellent. But I can't find it. I have no idea where to look at that. I don't know where to start. I can't even search it. So we decided to create a new ultimate guide to cruising. We did 100 pages of content that was everything that we thought people would require based on, not keyword research. We based it on what actually are the products we're selling and what do people actually want to know about that. We spoke to our customer service teams at Virgin and said, what do people ask you all the time? We spoke to the customer service teams at the individual cruise lines and said, what can we do about this? So we created this, and we built it for SEO. So the purpose of this in 2013 was to increase our visibility, to increase the traffic to Virgin Holidays' website by creating relevant content that targeted long-tail search queries that are going to push it up across the whole website. No link building in here at all, this is just content. But as I'm looking back at this 4 years later, and I'm trying to navigate it, and I think to myself, I'm going to have a search for drinks package because I'm an alcoholic. I search for drinks packages, and what I get back is everything you need to know about cruising on a budget. That probably kind of says a drinks package is a good way to save money. How much does food and drink cost? Yes, that certainly has some content about drinks packages on there. But actually, when you have content right at the bottom of the page that says, this is about drinks packages, we're probably not surfacing the correct result based on the search that's happened. So we could definitely do more for that. We could definitely improve the conversion rate from people who are searching for something that seems to be a really, really obvious query just by surfacing that information a little differently. And then when I'm looking back at this 4 years later, something that's really obvious, when we're looking at this simple response, this question and answer format, the way that I think search is going, if you're optimizing your site search that way, it's absolutely not a leap to start thinking about chatbots, to start thinking about Alexa skills, to start thinking about conversational user experience. Because all you're doing is providing that same answer, that same product from a different format. So when I said you could buy a grizzly bear weight of gold over the Christmas period, not like literally, obviously, and Alexa-powered products outsold that over the Christmas period last year, you start to get a scale of where this voice search is going. I know there's a load of stats that some people disagree with, some people agree with. 50% of searches will be voice search in 3 years from now. Cortana currently has 133 million users, which is about a third of Twitter, so that's fairly substantial. 25% of the people who use the Cortana search bar on a desktop computer use voice to search it. I think we've got a real sort of fundamental shift in voice. I mean, Amazon has convinced us to buy products that we can't even see using Alexa. So that's real voice search optimization as far as I'm concerned. So I think it's time to really get serious about this conversational UX. And I'm going to give you an example in the wild that I think is really interesting. This is powered by IBM Watson. It's on the North Face's website. You can find it down there, northface.com/XPS. And this is conversational UX, and never are you speaking out loud here. This is voice search through type, basically. So instead of browsing a category page for jackets, you're able to be asked the question, what kind of jacket are you after? What is it that you want? So it will ask you the question, when and where will you be using this jacket? So you can type anything in. It gives you some suggestions. I just typed in the one that said the example, hiking in Iceland in November. So I typed that in. And the results that are returned, it knows where I'm going, and therefore it knows what the weather's probably going to be like. Therefore it knows that I'm looking for a jacket that's probably going to keep me particularly warm. It's possibly going to rain because it's quite rainy there. It's for hiking, so it needs to have flexibility in there. And they've tagged all of their products up in such a way that the right product that's suitable for what I'm actually going to be doing with it is the one that's returned first. The one that isn't returned first is the cheapest. As I've already said, people are more likely to spend more with you through this sort of conversational interface, so they can show whatever they want that answers the query as best as possible. So ultimately, if you don't have that answer, what are you actually going to mark up? If you don't have the product, but if you don't have the content that answers that question, all the structured markup, all the schema.org markup in the world isn't going to help surface you in a search engine. I want to give you a couple of next steps, apart from going to the bar, a couple of next steps that I think you should have a look at if you want to get started with this. So conversational UX chatbots aren't for everyone right now. They are live, they are a thing, and they are making people money. But if you want to get started on this, I think the first place is to understand what are your customers looking for? Are you tracking site search analytics? Are you trying to find out what it is that they're looking for on your website when they're already aware of you? And did they find it? I want you to make it easier to find your content via a search engine than it is to just go to Google to find it. The Virgin Holidays example is obviously a huge e-commerce website, but our content is right there in the top navigation. It says cruise guide. This is easily accessible for people that want that information because it's not just for SEO. This is content that we're creating that is useful for everybody. I want you to build and mark up an answer database. I don't want you to just start adding metadata to your products, etc. I want you to start understanding what kind of criteria does this product solve a need for? What kind of questions does this content answer? And finally, I want you to make it your mission to answer every possible query about your product or service. If you're looking at Google AdWords Keyword Planner recently, you'll know that Google doesn't really care about giving you what everyone is searching for. You need to start looking internally about what your product actually does. So I think, to leave you with one thing, I think your search strategy should be to do what Amazon does. It should be to build the one-stop shop for whatever it is that your company does. Thank you.